Hey everybody, it's Matt and Dyan, and welcome back to Ok Aussie. Before we start this episode of Ok Aussie, you don't know what it is. I'm doing a PSA, public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
That was my teletype, so stay tuned for this public service announcement. Bit of a heads up, I guess more than anything else, for interacting, managing, dealing, understanding, supporting people with chronic. Chronic means long term, acute means short term, in the moment, okay? So people with chronic long-term disabilities, and my public service announcement, I guess, is part of what our channel does, is educating, informing, assisting people to understand and see the experience real firsthand, authentically, of what it's like to be a person with disability, and also to be in a family or a partnership, a relationship, or to be the carer, supporting a person with disability. My public service announcement, and it's just one of those things that ticks me right off, and we can have a conversation about that if you like, is really about this sort of statement. Okay, and look, I've been with Dyan, my partner, for over 33 years. I know, life sentence, right? Okay, but 33 years is a long term to hear the same thing, because pretty much when I first met Dyan, it's just at 17, she was just on the cusp of becoming... No, you don't get husband number two. I don't get wife number two. Was on the cusp of her becoming quite unwell at that stage because she had glandular fever, okay? Epstein-Barr virus, the EBV, which led into post-viral fatigue. Fun. Chronic fatigue. MECFS, myalgic encephalomyelitis, and she's suffered for 30 years with that. But one of the things, and this is why I'm trying to set the context for this, is over 30 years, is this simple concept of get better soon, get well soon. Or the adjunct to that one, okay, is let's catch up on Friday. Hopefully you'll be feeling better by then. And it feels like you've got this pressure, this onus on you to
not be disabled.
Just get better. That all your chronic, long-term complications, some of them are life-limiting, obviously with 22q11.2 deletion syndrome and chromosomal disorder, some of them being incredibly fatiguing. How do you push through it? Things like myalgic encephalomyelitis. I mean, you've had weeks, months, years, literally being in a bedroom, never stepping out. Okay, let's take this luxury. Hold on. You come with me. We've just stepped out of the bedroom. Now imagine if you're that person who hasn't got that ability, who has been stuck in that bed for years, literally not leaving her bedroom, able to get out and do activities.
I don't know much different.
No. But this is also, I guess, that pressure, and that's what I'm talking about, the pressure that's put upon you when we say sometimes these statements. Now look, obviously I know it's meant genuinely and heartfelt, and you want the person to get better. But how do you deal with that when you're a person with disability who then, and particularly I think also with other sub-conditions, things like autism or OCD or ADHD. ADHD gives you a lot of energy. You have a desire or want to do things. OCD makes you think about things or recycle thoughts or be a perfectionist and just try and do better. Autism means you don't always understand. And interoception, internal body sense, you don't understand these things.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. So how do you manage that to go, look, I hear what you're saying. I'm sure the term of reference was genuine, but I can't also make myself get better. I don't want to have the dread of thinking about getting better, what I have to do to get better just for you. But you mask it, don't you?
For the other people.
Yeah. Let's have a sit-down conversation about this. This is a bit more comfortable, a bit more intimate.
Correct.
Come on a little bit closer as we have this conversation. Hey, before we start this, if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do so now. Hit that notification bell because it really does help us to get you following along and share our channel. And if you think this conversation or others that we've had will help people who might be struggling with disabilities, chronic conditions, rare, you've got a few rare conditions, syndromes. Okay? Please share our channel so that they can find us and also hopefully subscribe and join in the conversation, which is what our community is doing at the moment. But coming back to the point, I know it's said innocently and sometimes flippantly. It's almost like those casual words of hello and goodbye. You know, sometimes we just interject these sort of simple statements with a positive sentiment.
Which
look,
I'm
get
not
better
used
soon.
to.
It's like, but
yeah.
Even some of my family, my sister, it's like, I've heard her say this over the years. It's like, I'm just thinking, are you thick?
It's permanent.
Are you not getting
it's a permanent condition.
A real life situation?
Yeah.
Now, again, in context,
people don't mean bad things, but it's an ignorance that they're blessed to have, because I know myself, I've never known a get better, because I've never been better.
And I'm saying this statement because I see how it impacts upon you, and I want to hear
Right.
specifically directly from you, but I actually see
Well, he hears behind
it's like
the scenes. So you're going to hear
punch
behind
to the gut.
the scenes
That's
today.
right, and that's
This is going to be raw, real. Okay, so
Raw.
don't take offence.
No.
It is just raw and real.
Yeah, it's a conversation.
It's either educational for you, or
informative,
it's just something that maybe you've never.
And it might help
about.
advocate. And again, if you're a
For
person
others
who's
too,
also
yeah.
experiencing the same thing,
Yeah.
a person with chronic long-term
You
disability,
might want to share this video for yourself.
perfect. You might want to share this
Yeah.
to at least spark a conversation and get other people seeing a different perspective, or at least thinking.
Well, there's
your
different
experience.
types of disabilities.
Yeah.
So we have disability who are disabled. We have disability who are not only disabled but actively sick.
Mm-hmm.
We have disabilities that are life limiting. We have disabilities that are life threatening.
Mm-hmm.
We have disabilities that are just
Affecting,
disabilities.
the ability of a person.
The ability of a person.
Correct.
So there are many versions.
Absolutely.
It's a bit like wheelchair users.
Correct.
Some are permanent, and the others are what they describe as ambulatory.
It's like 80% of people who use wheelchairs.
You can walk,
Can stand
but
up.
you need your
Can
wheelchair
transfer.
to do the
Daily living activities.
daily living. Yeah.
Moving out and about without maybe exhausting or hurting yourself. I see
Correct.
you when you get up. It's like, I'm just waiting for her to fall over most of the time because
I fall
of
well.
attacks out. You do fall. You fall with grace. If this was the Olympic score, it would be like a 10.
Dancing.
Yeah, indeed. But like I said, I see you, and when I hear these statements from people, it seems to me like a punch in the gut. And I'm wishing people, please don't say that, please don't say that, please don't say that, because it's like...
It hurts bad.
It hurts. And I also see a change in you, because it's like, you're a person who...
Well...
Self-doubt. What's that word?
Okay.
You self-gaslight yourself.
Yes.
Even about your own condition.
So basically what happens... Sorry
You got
about
warm.
Yeah, I'm struggling with temperature regulation, guys.
Thermo dysregulation.
I've got a lot of issues. I'm not in a very well period, which is like extremely concerning, but we'll get to that more later, won't we?
Yeah, we will.
But when I hear that comment, what my experience is from that is, number one, is those brief memories when I thought I was normal. And would be well forever, and was never sick really. It was temporary. That feeling of freedom of that. I did have that feeling. So I know that feeling. A bit like I was blessed enough to know the blessing of being able to walk, compared to now having to submit to a wheelchair, which doesn't make it any easier just because I can get out of it.
What extremes, going from being a dancer, a professional dancer, or an athlete, a person who loved to run and move around, to suddenly being limited to someone else having to push you.
Yeah. And so,
as an attendant.
When someone says get well, it is like that stab feeling. It crumbles you, because number one, you realise that you're never going to get better. That's what you hear, because you know your truth. You don't tell everyone all of these things when you first meet them. It's not like I first meet people and say, hi, I have a life-threatening syndrome. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to speak like
It's not
that.
on your business card, basically.
It's not appropriate.
Yeah.
It's not normal. People do it, I'm sure, but it's not common. And so I have to be naturally socially acceptable. Now, autistics get taught this.
Yeah.
It's not my choice, and life would be done differently if it was an autistic's choice. But I have to go with the majority. So let's go with the majority.
Sure.
I can't say that. I have to not upset others and make myself suffer. So I have to suffer the reality of nodding to that, going, yeah, let's catch up when I'm well.
Yeah.
And then I have to go back to my life.
Yeah.
And it can last days, hours, just sometimes minutes. It depends on my state of mind as well. I go back to my life and I'm like, I feel really crap. And then I start like going through, I'm missing out on that activity.
Right.
I'm always going to possibly miss out on that
self-blame.
activity. I
loss
might not be getting better at all.
Yeah.
This might be the beginning of my actual end. I'm never going to know until it starts to literally go that way. So when I hear that, I have to cry alone. I have to grieve alone.
Yeah.
I have to keep it all in
I
here.
was wondering, just while you were talking, and there's something I was thinking about in this concept here. I see a lot of people with complicated disabilities, particularly, or particularly those who've had very long-term chronic disabilities, withdraw from society, pull themselves back, almost isolate themselves into their own room or their own house quite commonly.
You do.
And I wonder if that's a lot because they get sick and tired of having to explain themselves.
What's wrong
it's a bit
with
like
you?
the 20 questions,
What's wrong with
you
you?
start with that and you go
when
into
did it start?
What have you got? Why you're in a wheelchair?
Are
Can't
you
you
gonna
walk?
get better?
Those sort of things.
Can you ever walk again?
But do we get fed up and frustrated and sick and tired of having to answer those questions, or the fear of receiving those questions, or the expectations put upon them?
There's two things. There is all that. And on top of that, another massive 50% is that you have to sit there. Think about when you were in school as a healthy kid, which majority of you out there might be able to resonate with, at least having a year or so or more of being a healthy kid.
Yeah.
And some of you might know just pure health. Imagine those days as a kid when you cannot comprehend, why can't I do the sports carnival with everybody else?
Yeah.
Why do I have to sit on the sidelines because I broke my leg? Why do I have to sit and not be able to swim in the pool because I broke my arm? That's temporary.
Sure.
That child suffers.
Yeah. Short-term missing out.
That child complains. Everyone understands that disappointment. Everyone reassures and validates that disappointment. I don't get to behave like that.
I find a lot of people get frustrated.
So I have to sit there and
time.
actually go without and not. I'm not allowed to complain.
Sure, got to say that. I think I feel a lot of people get disappointed that you're not getting better, and subsequently they get frustrated with that.
At me.
And this is part of
me personally.
With you personally, because
yes.
And then they go, well, why can't you come to my event? Why can't you come out with us? Why can't you come over to this and participate? And
it's not personal.
Aren't you going to be able to do this? And it's like, well, hold on, I'm trying to balance my energy, post-exertional malaise, my fatigue, my ability to go and do a doctor's appointment. What are my priorities in life? What am I weighing up that you don't even know about, for example?
It can get as severe as, I have days, guys, where... And I'm going through one right now. I've had pockets of time where I go, am I going to make it through? So when I'm thinking about anyone else's emotional needs, I come across probably absolutely selfish to you, to anyone that comes across my path. Because in those moments, I'm like, right, am I ready? Have I missed something? Do I need to make a certain type of video, write a certain letter, write in my diary, start a diary? I start to think about all the seriousness of implications,
real world implications of loss of life.
What is going to happen to me and what's going to happen to my family, and the pain that it's going to cause me, the pain it's going to cause others. I'm caught up with that, and yet I'll have someone that maybe is in my sphere of life, but they're very much distant from my reality.
Sure.
Come into my life and be like, oh, hi, how are you going? And it's just a normal day for them.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And it's so they're bright, they're bubbly.
To me, it's like, I'm not from your world. I'm not there.
And
I'm not there anymore. I feel like I've already separated from that world.
I'm not the patient. I'm the person who's
but you've
the
probably been
partner
pulled
of or
away.
caring to.
Yeah.
But you do.
We're not in that world.
And it also feels disingenuous.
Sometimes I don't want to sleep because
Yeah.
I'm in a phase where there's so much bodily signs of just fragility, guys, that sometimes I'm like, and I sometimes verbalize it to you, and I say, I don't want to sleep. Because that's extra, let's say 8-9 hours of living that I could be doing. Why waste it on sleep? that's just sometimes at night
Mm.
what I think about. It's like, it's sometimes I just feel like it's a waste to sleep right now. I don't
Mhm.
have time to sleep.
Sure, but there's also a spectrum to this. It's not also just talking about the finality of, okay,
No,
knocking over and
no,
that's end of
because
life.
sometimes I bounce
But
back.
there is also
Yeah.
the loss of function. You might have an event, let's say you have a neurological
I've
event
had a
like a
lot
seizure,
of loss of
and it
functions,
leads
haven't I?
to
Lately.
a brain clot or something like that, and you then lose, maybe it's your palsy stays permanent, or your paralysis stays permanent, or this dysfunction gets
speech,
worse. So you've already got a lot of loss of functions
movement,
and
speech,
organs
memory,
and things like
word
that.
finding.
I guess there's going to be a fear of those things becoming permanent, firstly, but then also worsening. Or then, heaven forbid, if there's more things added on. I mean, it's a bit like when we went to the doctor only last week, and then suddenly you're going, oh, now you've got this particular condition of the hand, and it's going to start doing this, and it's like,
Now
oh, there's another.
Yeah.
And it was like and another.
Art? Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking straight away, it's like those things which bring you the joy of doing certain like art and activities.
Art, cooking.
Is that going to cripple you from able to be able to do that function? Which is a counterpoint or a balance to be able to get through that next day or that week, because it does bring you some sort of joy when you've got the energy to do so.
Absolutely.
But I'm also thinking, oh my God, the burden. It's like, how much of a burden can this person carry of all these different
more than one
separate singular diagnoses? And look, I understand with the George 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, about 185 different symptoms and conditions and things come with it. And really, those numbers are racking up.
Well, now that the mean age is 47 and I'm 50, so naturally I have got a lot of, I call them symptoms, but individually they are diagnoses.
Yeah, they're all individual diagnoses.
However, I've got all those diagnoses / symptoms of DeGeorge.
Yeah.
And now that I'm 50, they are kicking me hard. And I think that the sad thing that I think that's gone against me in my life, although I will never probably take back, because it's who I am, and I think it's who the X generation was built to be, out of a lot of adversity, is I've always made it look easy, and I pride myself on that.
And there's a bit to that though, because you have the strength and you always push through. You don't complain, and you also don't talk about your pain. Now, partly I've always wondered, is that the autistic side and the interoception, particularly unawareness to it all, but it's also, I know that you're so strong that I also feel that you've been conditioned to go ignore the pain, because I, as a family, as a parent, I'm not going to give you that attention. So you just need to get on with it and do it.
I've grown up knowing pain, guys. I don't know when it started because it's there since memory. I have been in pain since I can remember.
And particular conditions such as EDS, Ehlers-Danlos, with hypermobility and fibromyalgia. You're in 7 out of 10 pain just as you wake up in the morning, and then that goes upwards, not
so you
downwards.
tend not to complain, and like I said, with X generation parenting, you learn not to complain anymore because the response doesn't happen.
Sure, but we've also got a culture and a medical culture here of the health system in Australia, which is
also tough it out.
Medically misogynistic is towards females, as in we're going to disregard your pain. We're going to actually put it all.
Ladies, did you know?
Oh, and that's why that leads to longer durations before getting diagnosis, and you're up to 10 years. We know this now clearly across multiple massive
men and women
major
the same way.
media channels are now actually starting to get on board with this and highlight the impact. But the realities are, you're dealing with pain. It's also brushed off, so to speak, as being just a it's a female condition. You should expect this, or it's all in your head. You're just being emotional.
Yeah.
And that's why I punch some people in the throat as well when they say that too. I'm sure it probably makes you feel that way.
Which is stupid too, because there's also like the flowchart method and the robotic nursing method at the moment. So basically I get offered morphine 1 minute, and when I say, look, that's part of the allergies of my allergies is opiates, and that's under that. So I said, well, I'll go for a Panadol Osteo, and she laughed at me and said, Panadol Osteo, that's a bit, too fancy. We don't have that. So that's how ridiculous it is. It's like, you want to give me morphine,
on the one hand,
But then when I
But
asked
a
for
simple-
Panadol Osteo, because I am a person that, sadly, okay, just trust me, I'd be getting other pain relief if I could, but they don't offer any other in my country. So I'm like, well, all I can take is Panadol Osteo at the strongest, and it was denied.
Yeah. Now, part of this conversation today is also just to be very clear that it's about, I guess, it's what you see and on us as a YouTube channel. We are very transparent. We are very genuine in the authenticity
And
of
when
what
we're
we're actually
positive,
doing.
we are positive.
Exactly,
Genuine.
and there's a balance between it, and there are peaks and troughs, and I've seen this over 33
It's a
years,
trough.
particularly with your condition, where there are
Right
times,
now.
weeks, months, and even years where it is very, very low, and you're on life support or living in hospital or whatever it might be, to other times when you're full of energy and giving your best presentation. It can be deceptive, and I think being a female, it's also, we talked about the beauty effect when it comes to certain things as well. And being a female, just because you brush your hair, maybe because you wear certain colours like pink, or you dress up and you wear glitter, it's like, well, if you can do those things, then you mustn't be sick, sort of thing.
Yeah, you can dance on the beach for 1 minute.
Yeah, for 1 minute. They don't then see the 7 days of crashing and pain and traction.
Well,
and,
just basically the 15 minutes it took to go and do it, and then the 3 days of suffering afterwards. And guys,
Context.
you might go, but no one would do that. When, once again, it comes back to the same reality of my life that I have to face. As someone who spent my whole, like, doing a master's degree as a child, doing dancing, it was a moment of watching a TikToker and going, you know what? And I said to Matt, I said, I've got to do that. I've got to go in nature and I've got to dance. Because
and I'll do everything to make it happen for you.
Basically, what if it was the last time that I ever danced?
Correct.
Right? What if there's only one more chance I'm going to get and today's the day? Because if I wait, there might not be a day. So I took it and I went, we got to do it.
Yeah.
And I said, let's go, let's do it. And he was encouraging as well.
Absolutely.
Naturally. And so it's like, we did it. So that dance, even though it was ad lib, didn't do it more than once. That was my first go. That was it.
And that's all the energy you had.
Wish I could have done more, done better. I can do better. But that wasn't what it was about.
No.
That dance was about, hey, I'm still alive right now. And I'm going to dance because it's a happy place for me. And then combine it with nature. Well, that's a really happy
real win.
thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But look, as a consequence to that,
I suffered.
You did, and it was an hour long of neurological and quite intense seizures. Probably the worst set of seizures I've seen in over 3 years for Dyan. She's been having seizures for 12 plus years.
It was probably like a silly thing to do, but like I said, I think there's a lot of people that make these decisions because
it's best for your mental health.
You always think that you've got forever, but you don't. You don't, and you should never act like you do because you really don't know if you do or don't.
We won't take that day for granted at the moment.
Yeah.
In all reality. Now, on that note,
how I sort of see it.
I guess along our video journey, and it is a log of our experience. As I say, sometimes with some of the episodes, I'm saving this up for the medical team because it's been very difficult to have the medical team be around to be able to coordinate because we've struggled. We've struggled with the fact that there is no specialist in Perth, Western Australia at all in the adult scope for anyone who does or has the condition 22q11.2 deletion syndrome. And in fact, with anything that's rare or new and emerging, and you've had multiple conditions which fall under that sort of scope, like I think 4 or 5, 4 or 5 of those major conditions, it just means that we don't have the technical staff who are actually competent or capable of managing your condition, or we're relying on the international support from specialists and also the literature as it's new and evolving in some cases to bring that information together. So that certainly brings a bit of a challenge to the mix of it. of what we're having to deal with. The other part of that is just the battles that we've had, and we've shared part of those along our journey between whether it's dealing with the government and Centrelink, whether it's the government and the NDIS, the National
Health
Disability Insurance, the government and their public health system, so under the Health Department and the Health Minister, and then the individual hospitals.
NDIS, because that medical affects disability.
Yeah. And it's not an unusual story. It actually resonates well across Australia and even, unfortunately, sadly across many other countries. And that's the feedback that we've received over the years from people with conditions such as Ehlers-Danlos or ME/CFS or chromosomal disorders like 22q. It's happening wide and far.
The medical care that we deserve.
And I must admit, I, as a caregiver, am exhausted because I spend too much of my time away from Dyan, being able to enjoy life with her and provide her more opportunities of daily living. Even for my own self, to keep myself mentally capable of doing things I'd love to be doing. I'm fighting a system where I get bogged down.
Yes.
Paperwork up to the wazoo.
So wrong.
And I'm a little bit sick and tired of that.
His life gets robbed as well.
And look, I'm lucky that I'm an incredibly fast typer and I'm very organised, but I'm just sick of writing reports and submitting complaints. And we've escalated those. We've been through localised complaints from the health system to the individual hospitals. We've escalated those through organisations like HASCO and APRA. We're now at the Australian Human Rights Commission for a very significant submission, which has actually been arranged by Dyan's originally disability advocate, disability paralegal, and then her now disability lawyer, who's championed the cause for Dyan, to push forward and utilise the resources at hand, because there are many rights, not just the simple patient rights, which is quite funny when you go to hospitals these days. They plaster these things about how they expect to be treated and how they want to treat patients and what your rights are. Well, you do have patient rights, you have medical rights, you also have human rights. And the Human Rights Commission agrees with me. Correct. And I'm very grateful for that. Correct. So that's a very substantial case that's actually now going forward, and something which we'll be working through, and that could have some ramifications. It's ramifications
it's
actually.
It's scary at the moment.
It is. There's an unknown entity to it all, you know.
I am going through a phase, as you guys know, with my heart, and I have this alarm bell inside my body just ringing, and at the moment there's this like administration battle going on that's like a barrier. Yeah. Because everyone's trying to work out what they're going to do with me. Oh, and I call it responsibility and accountability. In a life-threatening situation. So it's like it's not the good time to be fighting the fight of what we're going to do for my healthcare at the time when I'm at like high risk. I know. It's ludicrous. Yet this is what situation I'm in. So as I go to bed every night, how many nights do I wake up like just suddenly with a gasp of it's been every night at the moment, and just for be weeks. Like, oh, you know, like just in sheer panic that I'm not going to be saved in time. Yep, and that's contributing to part of unnecessarily I'm going to die. Affecting the whole sleep and the sleep routine, and it's like affecting your quality of sleep. And of course that has its own direct contributions, because lack of sleep or poor quality sleep directly affects your ability of your body to heal when it needs to heal, to fight infections when you've got infections, or particularly in Dyan's case, it's a key indicator or trigger point for having seizures. It's not good for my heart. It ain't good. It's not good for my heart. I can't even shower without. What a whirlwind, what a cycle. It's like you've got this and yet it's actually exacerbating. So even though we're going through the good fight and have got some very strong, supportive people around us, demanding your rights, because they can see the complete and utter failure for yourself. For a person who was late diagnosed, and again, if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome, but Dyan was late diagnosed at age 48, having this chromosomal disorder, 22q, 11.2 deletion syndrome. Now, the mean age is 47. It seems ludicrous because this would normally be picked up at birth, but she's been failed by parents, by family, by the medical system. Including adulthood. I have presented of thousands of presentations. I know, I've been there myself many a time. And they've never. And she has all these little, and I call them little, all these subsequent under diagnoses, and you know the list is incredibly long.
But when you add them all up, it's like you'd have to be blind Freddy not to see, well, there's an issue, there's a concern, and there's got to be a overarching, which there is, an umbrella condition called.
But that's why
22q.
You're very right when you say that the misogyny, it's very easy to see
I've seen
how your life can go the wrong direction.
Yep.
Literally the wrong direction for no reason.
Yep.
Just stupidity. Just pure, willful ignorance and stupidity.
Absolutely.
And it can actually risk. It is not just. Yeah. You can't change the fact that, well, I've got this syndrome. You know, it wasn't given to me by, you know, as far as we know, by a human.
No.
So basically, but that doesn't matter. Going without adequate treatment and undiagnosed for as long as I have, we don't know the ramifications of what that's done to me.
But even worse is once you've, and look, I feel pretty pissed off as the carer having to get a tape measure out and measure my wife's head and take photos of her face and compare them to her childhood and then do all this research and spend hours, if not days, weeks and months researching and coming to this conclusion going, it sounds like this condition, and why aren't people doing these sort of tests? And that's what led to the genetic testing finally in the end. But it was a fight to get there, and it shouldn't have to ever be a fight. My adage keeps simply saying, if you don't test, you don't find. And it was, stupidly enough, every test that you did, you kept finding more and more things. It's like,
it just kept going.
What is wrong with you people?
It snowballed.
And it's like, hold on, but I remember my wife going to you guys and asking, was something wrong, or
this
can you test for?
And
they ignore her, and they go, no, it's a fad, or it's passed away, or it's anxiety, or you're just stressed, darling. And it's like, what?
Sweetie, darling.
She's stressed 24 hours a day, every day.
I'm pretty chill,
the entire
guys.
life. It's like,
I've actually got in my genetics. I've got the chill.
You have. You've got the chill gene. Funny enough, I found that.
And I am like that.
Yeah.
The only time I get a bit crazy is my ADHD. That gets me into trouble.
It does.
Especially if certain people are around me, they kind of trigger me off.
Or your Tourette's.
Same Tourette's. Don't put me in the room with another Tourette's person.
Tics are contagious.
But basically, I'm very chill.
Yeah.
And I don't complain a lot.
No.
So when I do, and this is what frustrates me the most, when I complain, and for example, same with symptoms, I had this symptom in my hand, and even my good doctor that I trust, I did not tell him 2 months at least.
Yeah, you
upon finding it, and it might have even been 3 months, before saying, hey, let's talk about this, because that's what kind of person I am. I'm not someone that jumps at shadows.
You don't react to shadows, absolutely.
So that's why it really made me angry to think that I did everything right for myself, to advocate for myself, spoke for myself.
Correct. And the indicators are actually are in their tests, and that was the thing I spent a long time doing. Was I actually went back through and I collated and collected all of Dyan's reports, you know, from pathology, radiology, whatever they might be, X-rays, CTs, MRIs, you know. And I started going through it and looking at them and going, well, hold on, this is abnormal. This is out of range. They say this. And you start bringing all this information together. Someone actually looks. Someone actually takes the time to go, what were your symptoms again?
That's not in normal range.
And you have all these things, the measurements. It's like, well, this is ridiculous. So that's one of the things that's going on now. It's been happening in the background for a while. It takes away from us because we are a bit distracted by it because we're having to deal with the legalese now. There are also ramifications and concerns with it.
There's fears for me in the sense of, at the moment, look, years ago when I was in crashes, I never used to be phased because I knew that eventually it'll end if I just do the right thing and stop being a stupid idiot and do the right thing, right? But this time, at this age, with this syndrome, that's not necessarily how it's going to be.
No.
So I've got to be brave, I've got to be strong, I've got to also rest and stay positive.
Correct.
So that's a challenge in itself, because as much as you can think as positive as you can, you can do all the protocols physically for your body as much as you can.
Which we do.
But none of that is going to change the fact that this syndrome will do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
I believe in God. I believe God always has a plan. And I just know that whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Sure.
But the problem is, it's too real now.
Correct.
It's too real.
But the key to this as well
Mhm.
is the intervention. If you're not getting the support from medical teams, doctors
It's a
and
make it or
specialists
break it, life or
who
death situation.
accept and understand the condition, who take the time to learn, and I do actually mean take the time to read, because none of them are specialists, so they have to take the time to actually read the latest research and understand the clinical manifestations and what it actually means, to then treat each of the individual symptoms, but not also just work in compartmentalization or separation, but work collectively and collaboratively together. That's our challenge. If you don't get those things actually happening, and we're actually fighting the system,
then that determines my life.
Now, here's the other part of my concern,
Yeah.
and we've had this over the years, is the blacklisting that actually occurs. And I'm not bringing this word up, I'm going to be quite honest and upfront.
Yeah, it does happen.
I honestly do believe that there is a blacklisting that occurs for certain patients within the health
with
system.
too many diagnoses.
When you might fit certain criteria, you might have a certain type of condition.
Autism.
You might meet other sort of ethical, religious, gender-based stereotypes. You're a female, you're tiny, you're of a sort of age.
Squeaky voice.
Okay.
That
when you have
help.
certain things in place, it doesn't help.
I
It doesn't
sound
help.
like a sook,
It
but
doesn't
I'm
help in your
not.
communication.
I'm such a.
Your understanding.
I'm strong.
Yeah, but it also
Someone in the
means.
back just said a rude word to me.
Right. But there's also
I'm
certain conditions which are flagged in, particularly in Australia, and I'm also bringing these up because they actually do exist. Dyan's got PCR results for Lyme borreliosis.
That's pretty strong.
Now that's a viral infection load that causes problems, but in Australia, apparently Lyme doesn't exist. It
However,
does,
I
but
do
it doesn't.
have it.
But she
I
does
do
have it. Go figure.
I have Lyme
Borreliosis, correct. MECFS, myalgic encephalitis, pretty well unknown.
EBV.
But now that we've actually had COVID, we now have this thing called post-COVID. Now the researchers are going, post-COVID is actually the same as a post-viral syndrome, which is exactly what MECFS is. So now they're understanding with new research. So these things come into play. But coming back to this blacklist, what we've seen over the years, if you have certain conditions, being a woman, for example, certain doctors in Australia would not touch you if you've got certain conditions because they don't want to be aligned with having to treat you or recognizing a condition, such as, let's use the word Lyme, because to do so puts let's say APRA, which is the main registration body, and others, would impede their registration. There's been a lot of doctors across Australia who've actually been deregistered because they're actually just treating patients. Heaven forbid, who would think a doctor treating a patient and going out of their way and talking about it?
Don't do that.
Don't do that, apparently.
Man, that's so not cool.
Been very disappointing. But that's one thing.
That's what your doctor should do. Your
the reason
doctor
why I'm
should
saying
advocate
this,
for
they
you,
should do.
the patient. Yeah.
When you go legal, it's funny that suddenly
We didn't
you're not
intend
talking
to.
to doctors at a hospital, you're now engaging with lawyers.
We weren't
at a
intending
hospital.
for it to be like this.
And it's like, well, does that impede in Dyan's access to care now and appropriateness of management and treatment of her symptoms?
Scary.
That sort of thing worries me. But it's a process, you have to weigh up. If you do nothing, you get nothing.
Yeah.
The situation's happening. So if we don't do anything, it's actually just going to demise and go down. So we've got to do the fight. So we're just letting you know that's where we're at the moment. Is we're fighting the good fight.
And having private cover doesn't cover me for 12
No.
months.
And just like on the other side, so not just in the health system, but even under the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, it has a knock-on effect because one agency thinks the other should be doing that and vice versa.
Yeah, they fight between each other.
But we're also dealing with their system of escalations of complaints, and we're at the AAT, which is the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. Now we're nearly at the end of that system. We've achieved extremely well, by the way.
Yeah, but by the way, a lot of severe cases end up at the AAT.
Correct.
That's what I find disgusting.
Yep.
NDIS minister, fix that.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think
the
it's about
worst patients should not be
no, they shouldn't
ever. I'd expect the ones who are kind of like mild and just got on the NGO system who are asking for things that maybe you want to clarify a bit more about. That's fine.
I get that.
But when you're dealing with severe patients, and I know that you've sent many letters to dead family, to people, dead people's families, of access to things.
Yeah.
Not cool.
No.
Not cool.
No, and in fact, the AAT is used as a bit of a pushback to frighten people to say, "Oh, look, is it worth your wait? Are you really wanting to go through the exercise and expend the energy?" And I do mean there's a lot of energy. Like I said, paperwork, the amounts of it, the effort, the time. But about 95% of cases that actually go to AAT actually get resolved in favour of the participant. So it is actually worthwhile doing. It's just a strategy when they're time poor, resource poor, to push back, and it's not right. It should not be being done.
If you need things, you can't give up.
Yeah.
Look, if you've been able to give up because you don't need those things, that's great. But I'm just saying, if you know you need these things and your life is going to be hell without it, I know I've had to.
Yep.
I cannot imagine not having the things that I need. So it's been worth it. And also, I mean, just the late diagnosis was a drama. I thought everything would be resolved. I thought there would be an apology.
Doesn't that make sense?
I thought that everything,
Isn't that
the
logical?
healthcare would improve. It didn't. It got worse. It almost felt like they were thinking immediately that I was going to go legal. And it's like, not at all.
No.
Second to that, the NDIS went, I lost the paperwork 4 times.
Referrals
and then
got
they
lost
went
in the
basically,
system.
Well, it's actually me and the AAT. I said, Mr. So-and-so, this is me in the actual session. I had to be official. That's my official voice. I said, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. First name so-and-so. I didn't use his surname. I thought that was too respectful. And so anyway, I said, Mr. So-and-so, I would like to add that basically my 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, otherwise known as DeGeorge, is my umbrella diagnosis. And now that your system is being reformed and it is going to be known as needing the one diagnosis, so this is my one diagnosis which causes the rest. I would like that noted, please. And I'm doing this on purpose because the lawyer was there, the AAT lawyer, who's impartial to both parties, apparently, really there for the NDIS. But basically, they're meant to sort of be like keeping my rights under the NDIS intact. But anyway, always have representation, like at least an advocate.
Always be represented.
But basically, I said it in front of her because I know my paralegal experience. I know that if it gets said in front of a lawyer, that they have to honour that. Because I verbally requested, and then all of a sudden, they said, "Oh, well, Miss So-and-so, we now owe you all this money for your package.
We're going to recognise all your conditions.
I can't even use it now because I've made arrangements in this dwelling, but I could have had access to another dwelling. But because they were delaying, because like I said, 4 times in writing, kept losing it. So it was a game to literally get out of money.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, I didn't even know there was money attached to the change of diagnosis.
No,
I was just protecting myself for the future, knowing that I had a degenerative syndrome, high risk in this age group of death, of stuff. So I had to set myself up.
There's a lot of learning that comes through the processes that we've been in, and I guess there's also some clear outcomes, and that's part of what our channel is to do, is about educating and advocating. Do take good medical records for yourself.
Yes.
Always get copies of every test as you go along. Try and get doctor's letters and specialist letters as you are able to. Find out what you're eligible for and obtain those things. Ask questions. That's the best part.
Do you know that
have a conversation.
You know, I think it's articles, I don't know what article it is, article something, sort of in the middle of the 30 human rights. Right in the middle there, article something says you have the right of opinion and information. So in other words, you could be sitting with the professional. You have the right to say, my opinion is this, and my information knowledge on what I've got is this, and I need this. Or I am worried about this. I want to be looked in for this. You have that right. You don't have to sit there to a specialist and go, I'm stupid, hi.
Exactly.
I'm just a stupid chick. You tell me what to do with my body. You be proactive, and I promise you, you need to be. Like, this is a cautionary tale here.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you're getting the best treatment, the royal treatment. You're not ever had to deal with medical before, so they're not sort of pushing back at you because you haven't spent too much. No, it doesn't matter whether it's your first encounter. Be your own advocate first. If you're struggling, get an advocate to come with you. But I'm just saying,
that's not an
advocate for
easy
yourself.
thing to actually achieve in your own right, to actually obtain advocates. They are rare as hen's teeth, as
because
the saying
the system's
goes.
broken at the moment.
We were approaching advocates probably 5 or 6 years ago trying to
And
get
they
them on
said
board.
that we were doing more than they could do.
Yes, and I went to 4 different advocacy agencies,
So
and they all said the same thing. It's basically they don't have the resources. They can do very simple things like, well, here's a form you could try and fill out.
Well, I'm not simple.
But they won't do the harder ones. So you have to dig and look around and find those agencies that have got capacity and also competency to be able to work through this. But you also got to self-educate, as Dyan was saying. I've had to end up learning everything about the NDIS legislation, for example. About the conditions that Dyan has actually got, what's expected of those, and what the clinical routes are. So I know when I'm talking to specialists who should be involved and why. That's really important as well.
Whether
so
the right testing is being done.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether the right results are interpreted
and interpreting
correctly.
those results.
Those things, you'll be very surprised how many results you might have stacked up there that are actually showing abnormal results. And look at us ladies, what we found out recently, now what's come out. All these period pains and PCOS and all this suffering.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis,
I have been complaining of female problems since I was in my 20s. And I have been scapegoated, as in, not scapegoated, gaslit, ignored and told this is just women's business, just deal with it. By women, doctors. Fuck you all.
Great.
You're a woman yourself, and obviously you have beautiful periods. Fuck you. No, I'm joking.
Lucky you.
Lucky you. But, you know, I expected better of female doctors personally, because I think that why would so many of us females be complaining if it's not true? Anyway, so you millennials are very, very blessed. Because I'm telling you, when we used to go to the doctor and say, my period is so heavy and my period's got all these symptoms and it's not normal because my friends don't have this and I'm suffering and it's affecting my job or it's affecting my life, it's affecting... Seriously, we used to get told, just get on with it.
Toughen up, princess.
You're complaining about that? As if it was pathetic. No extra toilet breaks at work to deal with it, for example. It was
no accommodations
brutal.
For it all. It was interesting.
Brutal.
And you're on that point too, and this is to do with the medical misogyny.
But we still got a way to go.
I'm hearing one of the hospitals in Queensland was identifying this, and their director of health over there and even the health minister over there was recognising that they're now having to do better for female pathways, as they call it, for a lot of these pelvic related conditions.
Yeah, there's 50 something, isn't there 50% of us,
pregnancy loss.
Depends on the year.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're 49% of the population, and sometimes we're 51% of the population.
Depends on which way you go. Hey?
But yeah.
So that's really a current sort of update to, I guess.
Let alone childbirth, I'm sure that needs improvement.
Oh, it does.
And less medicalisation of it. I think that's kind of gross. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think that the over medicalisation of it is disappointing. That's my opinion. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own.
Yeah.
But I think that that's actually more of a kind of an instinctual, spiritual, natural thing that really needs to be as least interference as possible. Doesn't mean you're not on hospital grounds. I'm just saying, like, the methods they use is just a little bit.
No, it's a bit like my public service announcement at the beginning of this video, just as a bit of an awareness and education about, you know, get better soon concept. The realities are here. Dyan does have a conditioning which is life-limiting. We're living the best as we possibly can each and every day. There are some days when there's intense pain. There are multitude of seizures or cardiac events or joint pains or other conditions.
Absolutely.
We are juggling 18 friggin' different specialists, and that does my head in, let alone trying to drag. How do you drag a person who's mostly bedbound out into the cold, into a clinic, sit up for 4 hours, come into it? They don't provide a hospital bed or a stretcher to lie down in or toilet access.
So basically, guys, think of like a bad day, which everybody gets, whether you're sick or not. I have them too.
Yeah.
I have days where I have said to Matt in absolute frustration, including an angry voice, all of that. Don't mistaken my... Yes, I'm a chill person. Yes, I'm majority of the time quirky, funny, stupid. That's me, okay? You'll never take the me out of me. Probably not till the end even, it will shine through. But
absolutely,
what takes me over some weeks of the hard weeks is I will literally, with a very angry voice, say, I'm stopping seeking medical care as of now. Like a toddler, I threaten it, right?
Yeah. She stamps her little foot.
I stamp my little
puts
feet.
her hand on here.
And I say, I'm not taking my medicines.
Yep.
For seizures, for my heart. I'm just going to go off all of them, and it's just something's going to take me. And look, I know that some people might think, oh, that's so pathetic. It's the same as anyone else's bad day.
Yeah.
There are times when I want to say, you know what? I've suffered, and think about being a baby that's born in a humidity crib. Okay, I have suffered since the day I've arrived.
Yeah.
Okay, there's times where I get too tired for this and I want to quit. There are days when I want to quit, and I think that needs to be validated to all of you for who you are. If you've wanted to quit in different days, and I know I have many days in my really bad periods where I want to quit. I want to quit. And I beg him.
Yep.
And he's got to be, sadly, it's difficult for him because he's got to be the one to cheer it on when he knows that the more cheering he may do, the more protesting I may do. Yeah. And it becomes a conflict of interest. But
and it's also a balancing act.
He knows about
who
else is going to do
it. Not gaslighting what she's actually going through. Not being toxic positivity to say, it's okay, you're going to get through. There's got to be also a resemblance of reality checking to say, no, there are some significant things here. These are actualized risks.
Death is real.
This is what it could do. Let's have some honest conversations. Let's not over dramatize it all. Let's not catastrophize it. But let's also understand that no, these things are actually real. And having resuscitated Dyan several times myself, having to pull her head face down in aspiration and lack of oxygen, no, I know the risk that's right there in front of her, and it is scary. It's actually terrifying, upsetting. So that's our challenge. That's what we do go through. So even though there is a mixture of lightness and joy, fun things from the pets and the shopping, the sheen hauls. I let her do the sheen hauls. This is, the artwork, doing activities. We have our ups and downs. So when we have the good days, we celebrate them. When we have the hard days, we just encourage. We just go through. And we do record, and we're sharing this journey honestly. If this channel's not for you, that's okay. It doesn't have to be. Scroll on by. If it resonates for whatever reason, thank you. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. We love hearing other people's experiences and journey. Now look, if you've met one person with autism or one person with 22q, that's one person that you've met. Dyan is not the epiphany of everybody with that condition. It is spectrums for all of these different types of conditions.
Because I have 22q.
Each day could change. We say that with autistic and ADHD, symptoms, you can actually have differing days where you are more autistic that day than you are another day. That's just how it happens.
It does happen that way.
And we're also not competing on the stage of the internet. We're not trying to be the most autistic in the village or anything along those sort of lines. Don't care. Don't give a shit. Sorry. Everybody is valid in what they're going through and doing. We're just genuine to the core of what we're actually trying to achieve.
My unique one.
We appreciate the support that we do receive for Dyan's experience. We hope that there's many long years ahead.
Because guys, you guys are the only ones, and I say this to thank you, and also hopefully make you feel like, I don't know, hopefully I'm giving you something with my videos, but I just want you to know you give me a lot back, because I'm not blessed to have had when my kids grew up, and I thought that I'd be a career woman for the first time, because, for me it was mum first. That's my values. That's just me. But I thought I'd be a career woman, and it didn't happen because of my health. Yeah. And I don't get to go to work and have a chat to so-and-so at the water cooler, or have lunch with so-and-so from work. And I don't get that.
Get that break away from
so all of it. When I have chats with you guys, or just hear a comment,
it's the socialisation that you can do.
Yeah, these are the things that brighten my day. Absolutely. Because I'm isolated naturally because I'm in this room. I'm resting.
Oh, absolutely.
This is where I sadly...
And
if I have to do this to make my heart last, to make myself last, then I'll do that. Because I want to live as long as I can
100%.
live,
and look,
because life is beautiful.
You just touched upon one of the things which we do see in the chronic health communities, particularly those patients who've been sick longer than 10 years or more.
Yes.
We see so much loss. Okay, not just loss of self and personality, identity, abilities and functions, but also of friendships, of relationships, of partnerships, of community, because they disappear from society. So Dyan's doing the one thing that she can do via the internet, whether it's literally in her bed, in her room, via a camera.
And that's what I want to say to people who do watch these videos of mine, not just the good times, is that to all of you that do bear with me when I'm not me, pain, suffering, fear of dying, all those things can plague me on certain days, certain moments, and I just want to say thank you for just seeing me through it, and
holding space for it,
and just and you always just stick through it, and then when you see me pick up again, you just join back in, and I love that because you're giving me that space to be vulnerable, and you know that I'll get stronger again.
You will.
And I really appreciate that because it means that I can be me. It means that I can be honest and open. It means that whoever you are on the other end that can handle that you're mature enough to handle that.
For sure.
And because there are times where, please understand, for anyone in your life that for any serious condition, we do lose our personality, and don't take it personally, because it's not us, it's what we're going through. And if you just think about it, if you can't imagine it for someone my age, just think of someone maybe you've known as an elderly person, and you've seen them lose their personality that you used to know.
And that's even the same thing, losing functions, and I think you do speak about this, and we do for a reason, because it's got great context. Some people sometimes will get upset, for example, sometimes the language that Dyan uses. She's not a trucker, but what she does have are conditions that have a loss of inhibition. It is equitable to brain damage with the Tourette's, with
from all my seizures,
the repetition from the echolalia to the coprolalia to even the capraxia, where she will flip the bird or whatever else because there is no inhibitions and it's out of her control. She's saying random things that the brain's just suddenly latched onto and doing.
And unfortunately, those are the days when I'm actually feeling good and feeling excited to make a video. So the ADHD sometimes will come with that one, and you've seen probably both. But and I can't control that.
And just as much as the other struggles of sometimes the word finding, stumbling and stuttering over the language, forgetting what she just said and asking, what was I saying?
You probably might have been hanging on a word going, I don't know where she was going.
She's missing out too. She's forgotten. She wanted to know what she was going to say. Trust me, I was interested. So look, guys, that just puts a lot of perspective, I hope, in today's video. I hope you can appreciate that. Do give us a big thumbs up of support, because Dyan is a little champion and she is pushing through each and every day, and there's a lot that she has to push through.
I don't feel as though I'm strong, but then again, it's not like I get a comparison. 22q is not, and I'm not saying that someone who has breast cancer, for example, who can go to a breast cancer support group gets to understand it, because everyone's breast cancer is different. But I'm just saying it is very hard having a syndrome that I don't get to go sit with someone, have a coffee and say,
very true,
hey, what's it like having 22q for you?
Great.
It's tough. And
particularly appreciation to have people to actually understand the realness of what it's like battling the health system, having a system that is unaware of that condition, aren't qualified, don't have specialists.
I mean, think about this.
What it all means.
What my story actually ended up being is a story of a bunch of obnoxious sort of industry that thought that I'm a typical woman just carrying on about a lot of things and a little bit weak. It turned into a really strong woman who is actually carrying a genetic syndrome that's actually quite a tough one to battle and a hard one to survive. And that's basically what it's turned out to be. And with that, as you can imagine, being that I'm now 50, I didn't find this out at 20 or 15 or 30, 50. I'm angry. I've had to grieve. I've had to do a lot of fast tracking of acceptance and emotions and all these things because I thought it was chronic illness. And then the next minute it's a life-threatening illness, life-threatening syndrome. So it's like, this is really hard for me because some days I'm angry because I feel like...
And you're allowed to be, just like loss.
They've let me down so bad that it's not like you put your car in the shop and they kind of just forgot to do your brakes and you've got to take it back again.
Oh, absolutely.
They really forgot to do a lot of things for me and I've really suffered because of it. And you can't go back.
Correct.
Can't go back.
Exactly. Well, guys, thank you for joining us in this particular episode. Like I said, give Dyan a big thumbs up. If you've got comments or questions, things to say, or your own story to share,
your support.
Share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to share our channel and let's widen our community. Let's bring in and connect to others who have got, you know, long-term chronic conditions, different things such as 22q, chromosomal disorders, EDS, whatever it might be.
And look, at the end of the day, you're still going to see videos where I try, and I'm good at it, to look normal.
Oh, she's great at that one.
Even
she's mastered the area of masking.
Although, apparently I keep failing at that, but I keep trying to come across as not autistic, because I used to think I was good at that. No. And apparently I'm not. So, I'll keep trying.
Keep trying.
But no, you're going to see normal videos.
Lots of them.
However, I just want to be real here. Just one day, if it doesn't go that way and it just goes the other way,
pear shape.
I hope to see everyone up there. I want people to remember me for not the suffering, for
that light and
that personality that you see. That is the me, the real me, without the suffering, without the struggles of life that we all have. We all have struggles of life, whether it's, you know, family drama or whatever it is. We all have it.
Definitely.
And I just want you to remember me for that, and I don't want you to be sad.
No, well, you're that bright spark in my life, and I'm hoping you're that bright spark in many other people's out there. Now, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you'll see us very shortly.
You'll see us soon.
See you guys.
Stupid.
Bye for now.
Bye.